The $700 billion pain industry depends on you believing that early joint decay is inevitable at 35. It is not. Your joints are not wearing out. They are starving. And the cortisone shot your doctor recommended is just a temporary silence on a fire that is eating you alive from the inside. Your body does not expire. It stagnates. A $1 kitchen powder from 1943 stopped my early onset joint destruction permanently. It did not mask it. It extinguished the fire at the molecular level. The forgotten medicine found the exact formula they buried in the field medic guide. Let me show you why they did not want a 35-year-old former athlete to discover that. I am 35. Minimalist, one bedroom in Oakland. There is not much on the walls. A pull-up bar above the bathroom door, and a single dollar bill taped next to my desk. People ask about it. They think it is ironic. It is the exact price of what saved my life. That dollar is my daily dose. 700 billion is what they built to make sure I never found it. Every morning I look at that bill and remember what freedom actually costs. Not 10,000 for a surgery, not 400 for an injection. 63 cents. Behind the coats in my closet, there is a shelf most people never see. Military medical field manuals, photocopied biochemistry textbooks from the 50s, a laminated page from an ancient Greek athletics codex translated by a professor in Kyoto, and a leather-bound notebook where I transcribed the Okinawan longevity protocols my grandmother mentioned once, casually, like describing the weather, and that I dismissed for 15 years until my own body forced me to listen. That shelf is my archive. It exists because 5 years ago, at 30, I was a dead man walking on locked joints and burning cartilage. Let me take you back. Studio apartment. Smaller than where I live now. The nightstand next to my bed had become a graveyard. Orange plastic bottles, 7 of them, lined up like little soldiers. Naproxen sodium, meloxicam, celecoxib, prednisone for the flares. A topical diclofenac gel that smelled like a chemical plant and left a greasy film on everything it touched. And the big one, the one in the back with the child-proof cap I could barely open because my fingers had started locking. Tramadol. 50 milligrams. As needed. As needed turned into every 6 hours. Every 6 hours turned into the first thing I thought about when I opened my eyes. Not coffee, not sunlight, the bottle. I want you to understand what early onset joint degradation feels like when you are 30 and you used to do a standing backflip. It is not soreness. Soreness is honest. This is different. A deep, sick burn inside the joint capsule itself. Skeletal. Structural. Your own synovial fluid turning to sandpaper. You wake at 2 in the morning and your knee is locked at 15 degrees and you cannot straighten it. You grab your leg with both hands and pull, and there is this sound. Not a crack, a grinding. Like a rusty hinge on a gate that has not moved in 20 years. The pain is deep. It radiates. It hums. A low-frequency vibration in your bones that never turns off. I was a wrestler, Greco-Roman. National level from 19 to 26. Coached after that. Kids. Teenagers. I was not a gentle coach. You drill until the body memorizes the movement and the mind is no longer involved. Repetition until automation. And then my body started to betray me in front of the people who trusted me most. It was a Thursday, sparring day. I was demonstrating a hip throw entry, done it 10,000 times. I planted my left foot, loaded my hip, and my right knee simply did not rotate. It seized, like someone had poured concrete into the joint while I slept. I did not fall dramatically. I crumbled, slowly, sideways, like a building being demolished in slow motion. I ended up on the mat, on my side, knee locked, hands gripping my own thigh, and I looked up and saw the faces of those kids. They were not laughing. That would have been easier. They were pitying me. 12 and 13-year-old kids looking down at their coach with that expression. The one that says he is broken. He used to be something. I saw it in their eyes and it went through me like a blade. Not the pain, the dismissal, the quiet, unconscious reclassification of me from authority to liability, from coach to patient, from someone who does to someone who used to. The orthopedic surgeon looked at my MRI and did this thing with his mouth, a sideways purse, like tasting something sour. Joints of a 55-year-old, cartilage degraded, labral fraying, lumbar facets inflamed. Then he looked at me, a 30-year-old on a paper-covered table, and said, "Sometimes the body just breaks down early. We can manage it." Manage. Not fix, not heal. Manage. Because managed patients are repeat patients. Cortisone every 6 weeks at 500 a shot. Viscosupplementation at 1,500 per knee. Eventually surgery. Each procedure a line item. Each line item a revenue stream. He was not a bad man. He was a product of a system designed to keep you broken just enough to keep paying. I know your back locks up in the morning. I know you think surgery is your only option because every doctor and every commercial has told you degeneration is a one-way street. The industry spent billions making sure you would never find the $1 solution in your kitchen cabinet. I put the exact blueprint, the golden molecule protocol I used to rebuild my joints, in the pinned comment below this. Finish listening, then go there. What I am about to tell you is the thing they erased. The turning point was not inspiration. It was rage. I came home from that office with a referral, a new prescription, and a pamphlet about joint replacement featuring a smiling 60-year-old on a bicycle. I was 30. I sat on the edge of my bed and looked at that orange bottle army, and something in me snapped clean. A fracture in the part of me that had been obediently accepting the narrative that my body was finished at 30. I picked up the cane the physical therapist had recommended. Aluminum shaft, rubber grip. I snapped it over my knee, the knee that was supposed to be too destroyed to bear load. The aluminum bent and something moved through me that was not pain. Defiance made physical. Then I took every orange bottle, every pill, every gel, and drove to the bay. Threw them in, one by one, into the dark water. I stood on the pier in the wind and felt nothing. No relief, no triumph. Just the cold clarity of a man who has decided the path they gave him is unacceptable and has not yet found another. The archive started with an accident. Used bookstore in Japantown. Bottom shelf, I found a bound photocopy of a United States Army Field Medical Manual from 1943. Page 114. Joint starvation protocols for extended field operations. Soldiers in prolonged combat developing accelerated joint degradation. Not from wounds. From the inflammatory cascade triggered by sustained stress, poor nutrition, cortisol saturation. Joints starving. Synovial fluid thinning. Cartilage turning brittle. And field medics, with no access to surgery, were treating it with a compound from a common root. A golden-colored powder available in any supply depot. The golden molecule protocol. The compound was turmeric. The curcuminoid fraction, prepared in the field by boiling it with black pepper extract and a fat carrier for bioavailability. Dosage, frequency, duration, all documented with military precision. Soldiers who could not bend their knees returning to active duty within weeks. But here is what stopped me cold. A stamp on the inside cover. Withdrawn from circulation. 1947. No explanation given. I spent months pulling threads. Libraries, archives, retired military historians. The picture that emerged was not conspiracy in the dramatic sense. It was market logic. In the late 40s, cortisone had been synthesized. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories were in development. The profit model of dysfunction was being built brick by brick. An industry that needed chronic inflammation to exist as a permanent condition had no use for a $1 spice that could shut it down at the molecular level. The manual was not banned. It was made irrelevant. Erased from new textbooks. Absent from orthopedic programs funded by pharmaceutical grants. Not forbidden. Forgotten. On purpose. And it was not just the Americans. In Okinawa, elders had been stirring turmeric into warm broth with black pepper and pork fat for centuries. They called it uchin. They did not know the word curcumin. They knew the result. Joints that moved at 90 the way Western joints stopped moving at 50. Further back still, ancient Greek athletes used a preparation called chrysos alema, golden ointment. Turmeric root, olive oil, ground pepper, ingested daily. Hippocrates referenced it. When modern sports medicine was codified, these protocols were dismissed as folk superstition, not because they did not work, because they could not be patented. Here is what happens inside your joint when you begin the protocol. Biochemistry, not mysticism. Inside every inflamed joint, there is a protein called nuclear factor kappa B, NFKB, the master switch for the inflammatory cascade. When activated, it triggers cytokines, interleukins, tumor necrosis factor alpha, prostaglandins, the molecules that cause swelling, heat, pain, progressive cartilage destruction. Every prescription anti-inflammatory works downstream of NFKB. It mops up the flood after the dam has broken. Curcumin does not mop up the flood. It turns off the dam. It directly inhibits NFKB activation. No activation means no cascade. No cascade means no cytokine storm. No storm means your cartilage stops being eaten alive. The second mechanism is autophagy, cellular self-cleaning. Your body identifies damaged components and recycles them. In a healthy system, autophagy keeps joint tissues clean. In chronic inflammation, autophagy is suppressed. Joints fill with debris. Debris triggers more inflammation. Inflammation suppresses more autophagy. A death spiral. Curcumin reactivates autophagy, restarts the cleaning crew. Synovial fluid normalizes. Cartilage rehydrates. The joint stops grinding and starts gliding. I started the protocol on a Monday. 5 grams of high curcuminoid turmeric, a 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, dissolved in warm whole milk with a teaspoon of coconut oil. The piperine in black pepper increases curcumin bioavailability by 2,000%. The fat ensures absorption through the intestinal wall. Total cost per day? 63 cents. Twice daily, morning and evening. First week, nothing. Second week, subtle. I was not waking at 2 in the morning. The hum in my knees dropped in volume. By week 3, I could straighten my left knee fully for the first time in 8 months. And then something happened I did not expect. On day 17, roughly 120 minutes after my evening dose, I felt the inflammation leave my right shoulder. Not gradually, like a switch being thrown. One moment the deep burn was there, the hum I had lived with so long I had stopped noticing it. The next moment, silence. Absolute joint silence. I sat on the edge of my bed, and I moved my arm in a full circle, slowly, waiting for the catch, the grind, the resistance. Nothing. Just smooth, clean rotation. I did it again, and again. And I understood, in that moment, that I had been lied to. By week 6, I started moving again. Not training, moving. The Greek resistance movements first. Slow, loaded holds. Tendons relearning tension. Joints accepting weight progressively. Then the circular patterns from my wrestling foundation. Rotation. Flow. Each joint articulating through its full range for the first time in what felt like years. Breathing coordinated with movement. Loading joints progressively. Teaching them to trust their own structure again. It was not painless. The early stages felt like wading through wet concrete. Every joint complained. But the quality had changed. No longer the sick burn of active inflammation. The honest soreness of tissue being asked to work after long dormancy. The body waking up, reluctantly, angrily, but waking up. By month 3, back on the mat. Month 4, sparring. Month 5, training harder than my competitive years. The orange bottles were at the bottom of the bay and they could stay there. That was 5 years ago. I am 35 now. I train 6 days a week. I coach 5 classes. I move with a fluidity that makes the 20-year-olds in my program ask what supplements I take. I tell them, $1 of golden powder and the willingness to reject a $700 billion lie. I am not gentle about this. I do not tell you healing is a journey. I do not tell you to listen to your body's whispers. Your body is not whispering. It is screaming. It is screaming that it is starving, that the inflammatory cascade has been running unchecked and no one turned off the switch because turning off the switch does not generate revenue. Every cortisone injection is a $400 silence button. Every arthroscopic surgery is a $10,000 performance that addresses symptoms and leaves the cause untouched. The cause has a solution that costs 63 cents a day and cannot be patented. That dollar bill on my wall. The edges are curling. The tape is yellowed. 4 years it has been there. Cheapest thing in this apartment and the most important. The distance between captivity and freedom was not a surgery or a specialist. It was 63 cents and the willingness to read a document from 1943 that someone decided you should never see. Chemistry does not care about brand strategy. Your body does not read pharmaceutical marketing. At the molecular level, inside the joint capsule, in the synovial membrane, in the chondrocyte layer, there is a simple equation. NF-kappa B active, you degrade. NF-kappa B suppressed, you rebuild. Autophagy inhibited, you accumulate damage. Autophagy reactivated, you clear it. The golden molecule does both. For less than $1 a day. They knew it in 1943. Look at the bottle graveyard on your nightstand. Think about the last time a doctor said manage instead of heal. Consider why a 35-year-old who should be scheduling his first knee replacement is training harder than men 15 years younger. Not genetics, not luck, biochemistry. 63 cents worth, every single day. The protocol is in the pinned comment. The dosage, the preparation, the timeline. Everything I used, everything I teach. Go there now. And stop letting them charge you $700 billion for a problem that was solved for $1 in 1943.